Today's Oklahoma Olympian, Madeline Mims. At the 1968 Olympic Games in Mexico City, a 20-year-old Manning became the first American woman ever to win a gold medal in the 800 meters. She remains the only American gold medalist at that distance. Manning's career spanned 14 years as she won 10 national titles and set the American record in the 800 3 times. She added a silver medal in the 4x400 relay at the 1972 Olympic Games. She also competed in the 1976 Games and qualified in 1980, but the U.S. boycott of the Moscow Games prevented her from a fourth Olympic appearance. Madeline Mims now lives in Tulsa. She's a gospel singer and will be in Rio serving as a U.S. team chaplain for the 7th time. She was inducted into the U.S. National Track and Field Hall of Fame in 1984.
So tell us, Madeline, what is God's mandate for your life today? You're still pioneering, and you're in the process as you pioneer of passing the baton. And so what is God's mandate now on this leg of your journey?
All of this, my whole life was, as I look back at it, and this happens when you get older. You begin to look back and realize, oh, that's how this piece fit in the puzzle. And it's like your life is a puzzle, and there's certain things that go into the puzzle and fit together and others that don't. When I look back on everything, I realized all this was a platform. In fact, I asked the Lord, a lot of things are happening in my life right now, and I don't understand why they're happening now. And the Lord said, because you hadn't gone through what was necessary to have a testimony. You didn't understand what people are experiencing in life because you did not have at that time a life experience yourself. So you had to go through all those things. And the people that I have brought into your life now weren't even born yet. The gold mill group that's helping you brand who you are, were not born yet. In the fullness of time, things came to pass as God had planned them. Now, yep, there were little twists and turns and hard times and disappointing times and times of anger, times of this, just being discombobulated in life. But that's life. You know, it doesn't ever say that you always continue to go up a hill, a mountain. In fact, some of the things I do now as a chaplain with the Olympians is I try to help them prepare for the bad times as well as the good times. Yeah, maybe you paid a lot to get here, to get there. The reality is that I won in 68, the gold medal, set a new American record, world record, and Olympic record. All those things happened and they were great and fantastic. But that was just the beginning of the development of the platform. The next 4 years, there I am in Munich. And this is my hell year. This is when everything is totally just being destroyed. My life was just up in chaos itself in 72. I had been married. It did not work out. It was not good. I was a mother, a single mother. I had to figure out how am I going to do this with my son. And it all worked through, but it was horrifying. But that was a part of the story. And then in 76, I was actually asked after running a very lethargic race. And that will happen. You just hope it doesn't happen at the Olympic Games, but it did to me. When all of these news people were around me asking me questions and everything when I walked off the track. And this one guy said, you know, we understand that you're telling everybody that you're running for Jesus. Now, isn't that just like Satan to begin to find how to accuse you of something that you have stood and made a stand on and declared? And he said, you say you're running for Jesus. What we want to know is, are you still going to run for Jesus, or are you going to find something else? And I looked at him and I said, you know what? When I was out there on that field, everything I desired died. I died out there. I said, but the thing is, I am finding a principle in life that is so unique and so real that even though the desire to be another gold medalist, another world record holder, famous, whatever, all those things died to me. There's something in me that is very alive. And that is, I know that there is nothing that has the capability of separating me from God's love. He still loves me for who I am, for who he created. I'm still his, and I will make it through. I will make it through because he loves me. And I said, so doesn't matter whether I'm on that track going around in circles or I'm somewhere else in the world, I will always run for Jesus. And he said, okay, thank you. And he walked off. That went around the world. Those statements, and I thought about it. Had I won, would they have asked me that question? Would they have challenged me about my faith? I would have never had the opportunity to give glory and honor to the Lord of Lords and the King of Kings of this world as I did then. But it was the first ministry move that I ever experienced. Excellent. And then 1980, where this is the medal that the Congress gave me. It's a medal of achievement, and it says, in recognition of outstanding athletic achievement and determination in the pursuit of excellence by an act of Congress. I had no idea what God was about to do when he asked me to run again. He and I had a big fight, and he won. And there I am, willing to pay the cost to make the Olympic Games, and then all of a sudden we find out about the boycott. Then on top of that, like icing on cake, not only were we talking about a boycott, we had to make a team before we could boycott. But at that team, I was the most outstanding female athlete of the meet at the Olympic trials.
And how old were you at that time?
I was 32, because at 33 is when I had my last race in Venezuela, in 1981. And I was 33. So, but what happened is that I was captain of the women's track team. And all the captains came together because they said the president of the United States, President Carter, is going to give an address to the American people about the boycott. And they need somebody to respond from the Olympic team in response to his address. It took me until 2 o'clock in the morning when I finally gave up and said, Lord, I can't do this. I don't know what to do. And the Lord said, finally, you just let me help you. And within 20 minutes, I wrote up the speech that was a prophetical speech about the family of America. That we are a family, we're united. And yes, Daddy has made a decision for the family that, like any other family, you're going to have A to Z thought patterns. You have everything there. But the reality was that it had been made for us and we had to go with it. I remember sharing too that we needed the help of sponsors. We needed the help of business people in our family who could help us, because we still had to go home and live. We still had to go home and pay bills and see how we're going to make this work. And it had been so hard because we didn't have what the kids have now. We had no sponsors. But finally, 4 years later in 1984, everything that I spoke about at that moment of my response to President Carter's address was fulfilled prophetically. Uberoff came in and developed the most successful financial Olympic added from Los Angeles. He set that up, and I mean, even still, there's money that's still being used that was profited from what he did. And so I had no idea that the Lord was going to use me to prophesy over America and over our Olympians and over this time. What the kids are going through now and all the support that they're getting came through a word of prophecy in 1980.
Let's talk about trauma, the trauma you experienced at when you were in Munich. You mentioned that they didn't have chaplains, or you didn't have chaplains during that time. And we are living in a time of mental health challenges, a time in which people are not able to process the traumatic things that take place in their lives. I was watching a program recently, and the man was talking about thugs, and his definition, it's an acronym for traumatized human beings unable to grieve. So let's talk about that piece. What is God having you do in the area of chaplaincy and the Olympics, and as it relates to trauma and grief and in everything that goes with that for the Olympic athletes?
I think most people, when they look at an Olympic athlete, feel that they got it all together. Things have not happened. I was just listening to the Winter Olympians express the different challenges they had gone through. Somebody broke their neck, somebody broke their leg, and this happened, and they were still able to go through very painful therapy and everything. But that it is true that at the same time, mentally and spiritually, it needs to be understood that that's something that they have to be, that's part of the whole person concept, spirit, mind, and body. You need each to be whole. So I was experiencing that, after the 72 Olympic Games. It was just a horrible year for me. And there was no one to go to talk to. Maybe there was, but people that I tried to reach out to, they had no answers for it, including some pastors. They were still looking for me to give to them when I was asking for help. I became very aware of that. And I think the Lord allowed me to experience some very hard things so that I knew what it felt like to be on that side of needing some type of inspiration, some type of encouragement to remind me who I am as a child of God, of his workmanship on my life, and not to look at life in such a dismal manner. And actually, in 1984, I was asked to come into Los Angeles to help athletes who wanted to use their platform to share their Christian experience, but weren't sure how to do it in a secular public. And I went there, and I actually, shared and sang and did my little speeches at different places, schools, social settings, this type of thing, and help the other athletes. By 1984, the first Olympic multi-purpose faith team was brought together. It was called the 1988 Olympic Chaplaincy Team. I was called in to serve as a Christian Protestant chaplain with 25 men and 2 women, including myself and another Norwegian lady who was a Lutheran. She was a Lutheran minister, and she spoke 9 languages, which was interesting. So the other situation was that I was the only Olympian on that team. And that's when I think the Lord just dropped that seed into my heart of seeing how much the athletes needed chaplains to serve while they're in their conquest to get medals. I didn't think a whole lot about it, because right after I left there, I went back and I went on the road, and I was full-time ministry, um, speaking, singing, doing doing some concerts, um, going overseas, working with different groups of people in ministry. I just did a lot of ministry outreach. I did a lot in the public schools across the nation, sharing as a motivational speaker. So I was busy with life. And then in 2000, when I went to Athens, again, I was called in as a chaplain and served. By 2003, the Lord had begun to develop a vision in my heart. Why aren't you reaching out to other Olympians and other Paralympians? At that time, they really were not even thought about. But why aren't you helping those like people to become chaplains? And of course, me and the Lord had a big falling out about that, because I just knew I didn't know. What do I know? I've been running around in circles. I mean, I haven't been studying theology, um, though I read my Bible, though I'm a churchgoer, though I have a church that I go to. I don't have that type of information to give anybody. I brought together a group of people who were Christians, whether they were Olympians. Some of them were Olympians and some were not. And as we were talking, I'll never forget, I was sitting at the table eating, and I just said, Lord, this is too big for me. I can't do this. The Lord openly said to me very strongly, I didn't ask you to do it. I asked you to bring the vision into the earth. And I will send you the people that will do the vision. Can you bring the vision into the earth?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, oh, yeah, I think, yeah, I can do that. I can do that. And I said yes to the Lord. Now, when you say yes to the Lord, he never tells you everything.
True.
Okay. He never told me that I would have to go back to school and get my master's degree and my doctor of ministry degree, and that I'd have to do. He never told me all these things that I would. But he does that because he knows it'll scare you off. But
right.
He'll give you the ability to do what is necessary to do. And so that's what I'm doing now, is reaching out to my peers through those who have been called by the Lord, as I was. I think one of the things that you need to know is that I was a captain of many of the teams that I was on, national teams and Olympic teams, etc. And I served. You can be a captain honorarily, or you can be a captain and make it work, start working. And so I always work with my peers and gave myself to them, my time. Sometimes it made me run a very bad race, because if you're up 2 to 4 to 5 o'clock in the morning and you got a race that day, your body is still wanting to get sleep and oxygenated and prepared to do what it does, and you've been up all night. But I realized in the service of others that was part of the sacrifice I would have to pay. The other sacrifice was this, Sylvia. I had to learn how to be a servant. I had won the top in the world and was hailed as, this legend. And I had to lay all of that down at the foot of the cross.
Count it all dung.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And serve and be talked about and have meetings behind my back trying to get me out. And the enemy was trying his best to get her out of here, And a lot of times I didn't find out about things that were going on my behalf behind my back, until years later when some of my peers told me I was sitting in that meeting when they talked about you. I was like, what? But let me tell you something. You can't stop God when he
No, you
said
can't.
it's time to go, it's time to move. They can talk all they want. They can do whatever they want. God is still going to make a way for you.
That's right.
And I really saw that happening. But also at the same time, the Lord was saying, prepare others, as you have pioneered the area of the 800 meters. Now pioneer this whole thing. And that's how the USCSC, which is the United States Council for Sports Chaplaincy, was developed, originated in 2003 as a 501c3 organization. And it's still growing. We're still developing it today. Now it's an academic program, whereas we are able to certify. We can certify Olympians and Paralympians. It's for a specific group. It's not for everybody. Whether you're in a ministry. Of course, I've had a lot of pastors, a lot of ministers, a lot of evangelists wanting to be a part of this, but that's not the field that God called me to. He called me to reach out to my own peers, to become chaplains, to go back into the sport and serve.
That is wonderful. So can you give us some examples, us meaning the viewers, and
Sure.
And me, some examples of how you have served as chaplains in the various Olympic events, I think is a better way of putting it, because it's just not restricted to the runners, the track and field. It's
Right.
Olympians in general.
Right. It's interesting because at first, I was called to be a chaplain to Team USA.
Mm-hmm.
And then it went to chaplain for North America. Then it went to chaplain for the whole world. Anybody who speaks English,
I love it.
But it's because of the different things that God was doing. Yeah, well, we do chapel services for them because in a Christian, it's probably the most active. When you find Christians at the Olympics, they want to pray, they want chapel, they want church, they want counseling, they want times to pray with each other, fellowship. It's a lot of activity that goes on amongst them, and they don't need to have to stop and do it themselves.
Right.
So it's best if you have a trained chaplain who has been where they've been,
Mm-hmm.
that they have respect for, able to reach them like this.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that there aren't people who are awesome ministers of God that can reach athletes. But it does help when somebody has been where you're going or trying to walk, then they've walked that path.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So tell me, yes or no, were you or any of the other chaplains that you are raising up, able to minister to Simone Biles or any of those individuals who were a part of that Olympic event?
Actually, because Tokyo was so weird, I mean, it was the very different type of Olympiad experienced by anybody. No one had experienced an Olympiad like that because of COVID and because of the grief, because of the training that had to go on without people, without your coach, without other athletes on a team or anything of that nature. It made it very, very hard. And so, of course, they weren't going to allow any foreigners into Tokyo. Because one of my chaplains had been cleared to work with the U.S. track and field team. But that was shut down when they didn't know if they were even going or not. You couldn't get close to them, So everything turned out more virtual. I was able to actually do a chapel service virtually for our track and field team in Eugene, Oregon, and it was powerful. I also did a chapel service for actually it wasn't just USA, it was for anybody in the Christian realm in Tokyo that they did virtually. The other thing that we did was like for the track and field team, it's so large, and because it's my sport and everything, my chaplain, who is an Olympic gold medalist in discus, we did what we did called gift bags, and we got people to donate, organizations to donate different things. So we put them in these gift bags, and whoever made the team got one of the gift bags as they were being checked for their clothing and everything as they were going through that process. That was one of the things we did. Another thing we did, because see, God will give you a way to do stuff.
Yes, he will.
Give you creative ideas. I woke up one morning and I heard the Lord say, inspirational moments. And I thought, what is that? And what it was a minute and a half of sharing a video from an Olympian, a moment that they experienced in their Olympic time, sharing it with the athletes that were there. So this went, we got a list of all kind of athletes from winter, from summer, and from Paralympics to share their experience and to empower and impact. And it was called Inspirational Moments. And the athletes could get it anytime they wanted, any time of the day they could pull in. So that's one way of serving. But normally we just have chapel services set up for them. We have Bible studies set up for them. We do one-on-one counseling. We're there as part. Now the mental department now is looking at chaplaincy as part of mental health.
Good.
Yes. Sure. That's a long time prayer that I've been hoping, so what we do as organization in USCSC, we prepare the chaplains so that they have somebody to pick from. When different major events come up and they need chaplains for it, we're one of the groups that they can choose and know that, okay, these are special chaplains who have been trained, who are also trained in counseling and theology, trained in caregiving, trained as an Olympian. They're an Olympian, or a Paralympian, and have them ready to receive. Now, this hasn't happened yet because of COVID and everything shut down everything for a while, but we're moving back toward getting that ready.
Awesome. Yeah, I when you were talking about initially, it was like God was expanding the vision. And even as he carried you in the last 100 meters of that 400-meter race, he is yet carrying you. And he didn't, as he spoke, as you said, he told you he doesn't need you to do it. He just needs you to birth the vision, even as your mother birthed you into the earth. He didn't need her to run. He just needed her to have faith to bring you in the world, and then to have faith to believe him, because he probably spoke to her about you before you were conceived or when you were in her womb about your destiny. So that's why she felt when the doctors prognosticated, because she gave you to the Lord. And so this is just so powerful. As we come to a close, you are in a commercial. And I just want you to share a little bit about that commercial. It's a Visa commercial. And it just says, what does it take to make it? Against all odds. It doesn't say that, that's me. And the race to succeed. What does it take? What does it take to make it? And the race to succeed. Does someone always have to fail? We've got to start lifting each other up and give everybody a fair shot, because when that happens, we've all made it. So this is
Very good, Sylvia.
commercial. So inspirational, because instead of a scenario where someone has to fail in order for someone else to succeed, which is the nature of athletics, okay?
Right.
But I'm quoting someone, a writer, who says Olympian runner Madeline Manning Mims states that we need to start lifting each other up. When we give everybody a chance, she says, we've all made it. You want to comment on that? And then we're going to take a look at that commercial.
Yes, the commercial was called "Making It," and I asked. Well, I was stunned in the first place that anybody even called me to do a commercial, because I've never done a commercial before, and I was like, Lord, what is this all about? And he just let me know it's me. So one of the things that I asked him, I said, where did you originate this theme? And I remember the producers telling me, he said, we sat down and we started thinking about, what type of Olympic commercials do we want to make? What do we want to say to people? Not only US, but worldwide, globally. Mm-hmm. What do we want to, they said, because, what has happened in our world, we have been hit with a pandemic that stopped everything.
Yes.
And people have lost businesses. They have lost loved ones. They have been sick. It's just been a real turmoil. They have been separated from each other. And what can we say? We can't just get up there and say, rah, rah, let's go for it, and get the medal. It's got to be more than that. And he said, when we researched and looked at your life and what you do and what all that you've accomplished, but you're still giving, mm-hmm. We said, well, we're talking about making it. How do we make it in life? How do we how do we get over? How do we get through? We're talking about making it. And he said, that's where that theme originated. And I told him, I said, you know what? You heard the heart of God. Hmm. God, in his own way, is reaching out to heal people's hearts. Wow. And to draw them to him for help. What are the two major commandments? Love God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your strength, and then love your neighbor as yourself. Yes. We have so leave neighbor, love the neighbor. We've left that out. It's all about me, I. Everything has been so introverted that we stop looking at each other and caring about each other, and yet that's there. That's in God's DNA to help take care of one another. And he's called us to do that. And he's using you as part. And I asked him, I said, do you mind if I pray with you? And one lady said, you might as well pray, because we're all here bawling.
That is great.
And so, yeah. I love the theme, the reason why they named it Making It.
Well, let's take a look at that commercial.
What does it take to make it? In the race to succeed, does somebody always have to fail? We've got to start lifting each other up and give everybody a fair shot. Because when that happens, we've all made it.
Network working for everyone. Isn't that the heart of God?
Yes, sure is.
Awesome.
And I'm glad they heard it.
I am too. And especially in the day in which we pray for the various mountains of influence, media is one of them. So that's just encouraging to know that Visa heard and is responding. And that even as you were told by the broadcaster after your as you say, you ran a lethargic race, are you still running for Jesus? And the answer to that question is absolutely yes. God works, he gets mileage out of everything, and he works all things together for the good of those who love him. And so we know that you love him. So you have any closing thoughts as we conclude today's broadcast?
Just one. I'm still running for Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like it's just getting better and better. And I am just overwhelmed at what God is doing with my life here in this season of my life. It's not over yet. It's almost like it's just started. And he's like, okay, all those years was to get you here so that this can happen. And if you only trust the Lord for your life, he will bring you through some hard things, some great things, some puzzling things, and you will always be able to look forward and see success and prosperity in your life happen because of Jesus. I can do all things, which is a exciting scripture that athletes take. But the main thing that sometimes they miss is I can do all things in Christ.
That's right.
Not that you can't do some things outside of him. You can accomplish a lot of great things outside of Christ. But will they matter? Will they hold eternal value? Will they be something that you'll look back as a legacy and said, you know, God took me through that and God was able to lead this for somebody else.
Yes. A legacy.
Amen.
I love it. I love it. Madeline, thank you for just sharing with us, sharing your heart and being so transparent. And on today's broadcast, we appreciate you and we look forward to seeing you in many, many commercials and seeing the, and we know that as long as we live, that life will happen. And so we look forward to seeing the chaplains that you are training, you know, on the front lines, in the trenches with the world's athletes, Olympian athletes. So we just say thank you. God bless you. And we want to thank everyone for joining us. But before we go, we want to share with our viewers, because one of the things that God has gifted you with, even as your father noted when they had lost your placard in your bassinet in the maternity ward when you were born, is that God has given you lungs. He has given you a mouth to proclaim the gospel.
Amen.
One of the things that you do is you sing. And so we're going to close today's broadcast by sharing your beautiful, powerful, and melodious voice. So God bless you.
Thank you.
Oh, say can